I'm David Langworth. I'm a member of a small steering group that is promoting the Borders Greenway, what we used to call the Eastern Borders Green Route. Could we have the next slide, please? Yeah, we all started really in 2020 during lockdown when there was certainly an increased appreciation of our local environment and getting out and about locally. Several of us from the Greener Melrose Cycleways group were interested in trying to expand traffic-free cycling, especially using old railway lines, some of the old railway lines. And together with a group in Gavington, we thought it would be a great idea if we could use the old Berwickshire railway line to link the Tweed Bank station, which is at the end of the Borders Railway, with the new station that was going to be opened up in Reston in the Eastern Borders, and which the old Berwickshire line connected. And along the way, this would link up with the various communities which were linked with this route. Could we have the next slide, please? Clearly, so why were we doing this really? Well, the benefits, we like to call it 3 Ps: people, place, and planet. For people, there's an obvious benefit in getting out and about on a traffic-free route, either walking or cycling or wheeling, and also potentially horse riding. And with all that, as well as the health benefits, there was the question of the increased social interaction between everybody getting out and about locally. As well as that, the place, obviously, the idea was to connect the communities which along the route, and I'll show you a map of the next slide. And that with all that, with increased sustainable economy, promoting business, hopefully. And finally, the planet. Well, obviously, we were looking at decreasing car use, getting people walking and cycling. So that was an obvious benefit. Could we have the next slide, please? So this slide shows the route from Tweed Bank and joins the communities at Earlston, Gordon, Greenlaw, Duns, Churnside, Reston, and then we've extended the route now to include Eyemouth as well. So the small group of us, we submitted a proposal to the South of Scotland Enterprise, SOCE, and they funded a feasibility study which looked at creating a shared path all the way along the old railway line, a paved path which would allow for cycling, walking, and wheeling. So the idea was that it would be access for all along the route. They submitted a report in 2021-22, and with a very detailed route looking at creating a continuous, accessible and hard surface path all the way, which is 40 miles from Tweed Bank to Eyemouth. The feasibility study also included a public consultation, which turned out to be very positive. We had a 90% of 1,600 responses were all supportive. So what's been happening since then? Could I have the next slide, please? We realized that this was going to be a long and going to get difficult funding for the whole project. So we wanted to harness the initial enthusiasm for the group. So we decided to form a community collaboration, which we called a community collaboration group, and partly to create or use a lot of the local knowledge. People had a lot of local knowledge on existing paths and walking routes. So we decided that we would try and create an existing walking route, a route that could be walked other than using the old railway, or including using the old railway, but a part of which of the old railway line was inaccessible over the years. So we held a number of meetings with community councils and other groups, took along the map and asked them to show us where there were suitable walking routes that we could use to form a continuous route. And as you can see, we're divided into 7 sections: Tweed Bank, Earlston, Earlston Gordon, Gordon Greenlaw, Duns, Churnside, Reston, and then Reston to Eyemouth. This we did a number of meetings, and we now have a good support from a number of communities throughout the length of the route. And it struck me that when we're talking about place planning, this sort of ties in quite well, because we had meetings with these groups, showed them a map of the route and talked about what they'd like to see in their community. Go to the next slide, please. We did the same with the cycling route. We wanted to create an existing cycling route that could be cycled at the present time. In this case, obviously, try and using as many quiet roads as we could. And so it does deviate from the old railway line to some extent, but it's a route that can be cycled at the present time without too much difficulty. Again, as I said, the route is a bit longer than the original 40 miles. It's about 55 miles altogether. Go with the next slide, please. So what are the various challenges that we've faced? Obviously, the cost of the whole route. So we've decided to prioritize certain sections of the routes. The initial route on the west, the Tweed Bank to Earlston, there is largely a traffic-free on quiet roads to Leaderfoot, and then there is a cycleway that parallels the A68 almost down to Earlston. The other route which we want to prioritize is the route from Churnside into the new station at Reston. And at the moment, we are putting in an application for a shared prosperity fund through the Scottish Borders Council for a detailed feasibility study for this route, which will look into the various obstacles and difficulties that we might have on this route. Though in actual fact, from our point of view, we thought this route was provided the least difficulties in that it follows almost exactly the old railway line. Obviously, we've done a lot of used a lot of volunteers, local walking groups who've been walking the routes with us, and also we've got the Puffin cycle group to cycle the whole route again to point out, to look at the various opportunities and difficulties that we might have. So basically, the project has 3 strands really. We have our main proposal, which is to use the old railway line, which would be a paved shared access route. And then we have the existing walking routes and the existing cycling routes, which people can use at the present time. I think that's probably all I want to say, really. They might have various questions or things that I've missed out.
That's great.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, David.
The last slide actually shows the website, slightly complicated website, and contact email.